All right, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sean with the business development team at ARM Treasure Data. We are joined by the good folks at MessageGears to talk about achieving marketing success using a best-of-breed approach to customer data and messaging. Okay. Leading today's talk will be our experts at MessageGears, Walter Rowland, SVP of Growth, as well as Adam Fenwick, who will be giving us a demonstration of the MessageGears platform. And as for our agenda, we'll start off with a short intro into ARM Treasure Data for anybody that's new to our channel. Then Walter will give us an overview of the MessageGears platform. We'll follow that with a demo of MessageGears provided by Adam. And just a quick reminder, feel free to submit any questions throughout this session. We'll try to answer all of your questions towards the end of today's talk. And in case you missed something or you want to share this content with your colleagues, a recorded version of this webinar will be available afterwards to view on demand. Now, for those unaware, ARM Treasure Data is an enterprise customer data platform, our goal being to connect any and all of your customer data channels to ensure a seamless marketing pipeline and in turn ensure a smoothly flowing customer experience. Okay. Now, the key problem that has led to the need for ARM Treasure Data is aptly described by this concept in marketing called Martech's Law, which states that organizations are slow to adapt to changes in marketing technology, which makes a lot of sense because over the last decade, we've seen this explosive growth in marketing technology from around 150 vendors in 2011 to 7,000 plus in 2019. So we have this situation where the marketing clouds are trying to become a one-stop shop for all your marketing needs, but because new marketing tools are constantly arising in most cases as a direct result of gaps in features presented by these very marketing clouds, we now have this situation where no single vendor, especially the marketing clouds, can solve the entirety of the marketing puzzle alone. What this means for marketing is that marketing today involves cherry-picking many technologies that satisfy many unique specific needs. But when you add dozens of new technologies to your stack, a new problem that arises is that these technologies were not designed to interact with one another. So for example, your customer might have signed up for your loyalty app this week and maybe added and removed items from their online shopping cart throughout the week as well. But when they come to your physical store, they're suddenly treated like a first-time customer that isn't already loyal to your brand. So it's really these kinds of jarring experiences. These are why customers stay disengaged, and ultimately that is how you lose customer loyalty. Ideally, you should be keeping track of every step in the customer's journey through any and all of your touch points and devices, be it web, mobile, email, IoT, or point of sale, and each of those team functions should be operating off a central source of truth based on data gathered and combined from all those respective channels. Now, connecting those various channels and creating a seamless unified customer data pipeline is exactly what Treasure Data has set out to achieve. So as a first step, we collect data from all your customer data channels, even complex sources like IoT. We then unify this data and create a central composite profile of your customers that reflects all of your customers' touch points with your brand, just like we saw a few slides before with our customer Jasmine Yu. Okay, we then analyze this data by segmenting your audiences and running predictive scores to identify, for example, which of your customers are most likely to come back to your stores next month. And of course, all of this analysis is useless until you actually send your segments directly to your relevant channels, perhaps a messaging platform like MessageGears where you can automate messages to your customers based on their respective segments. So what we end up with is this simplified marketing managed customer data pipeline where data flows smoothly from point A to B to C, and information from your endpoints are automatically fed back into Treasure Data to create this ongoing cycle of new insights leading to automated action. So just some final remarks before passing the baton to the MessageGears team. If you're a large organization dealing with massive complexity, be very careful when you're evaluating CDP vendors because you're likely to be drawn towards the brands you already know and recognize, when in reality, some of these vendors still don't have a functional CDP product. A CDP isn't something you just build overnight and requires a robust foundation when it comes to working with data on the cloud. ARM Treasure Data's success when it comes to enterprise metrics like scalability and security, these are the result of nearly a decade of painstaking optimization around our clients' use cases. If you think we're being selective with what's being displayed on the screen here, this expanded chart shows ARM Treasure Data ranking first across all key enterprise CDP metrics, including this time architecture and compliance, while some certain marketing clouds consistently rank last when it comes to actually delivering on their CDP promises. Okay, so be very careful when you're navigating the CDP space because vendors will overpromise on their CDP capabilities to get you to sign the dotted line. So as a first step to be better equipped when you're researching CDPs out in the wild, we're attaching a comprehensive RFP template that will cover key areas you should be evaluating when considering an enterprise CDP. Also, our Director of Partner Technology Enablement runs a live web demo every Wednesday. So if you have any deeper, perhaps more technical questions following this webinar, register using the links on the right or below, and Maverick will answer any and all of your questions live. All right, and with that, I think we can quickly pivot to Walter on the MessageGears team to see what awesome things are possible on the activation end once you get your data house in order with the CDP. Walter?
Thank you, Sean. Really a pleasure to be speaking with you all today. Love partnering up with an enterprise class CDP like ARM Treasure Data. First, I just want to say that I hope everyone is safe and healthy and perhaps using this time to spend more time with family, reflect, and maybe do some longer-term strategic planning. And in a sense, that's kind of why we're all here today, to give you all a vision for maybe a different approach to a monolithic marketing cloud, if you will. I know many of the brands we're working with are using this time as a bit of a pit stop where they can do some planning, retooling, and upgrading. So I would encourage you to maybe think in the same way if you're not already. This quote on the screen, I think is an interesting one. It came from Gartner's Marketing Technology Survey, the 2019 edition, which they published at the end of January of this year. And what I think is particularly interesting about this quote is the best of breed preference, for those of you that are kind of paying attention to this, and truth be told, I dug into this over the last week, but the best of breed preference has actually increased relative to the 2018 survey, where it was at 50% back in 2018. So things are increasing up to 57%, and then you've got kind of around 30% who prefer the sort of integrated suite approach. Now, we're certainly not here, Sean and I, and Treasure Data and MessageGears, we're not here today to convince you that a best-of-breed approach is best for your organization, but rather just to present you with a vision for what a best-of-breed approach could look like for what I would think of as CDP and kind of ESP capabilities, to use some three-letter acronyms. Together we're providing you with a vision for a best-of-breed alternative to kind of those monolithic marketing cloud platforms, for those of you that are kind of what we think of as super senders, and really giving you all the service and support you deserve. That's a big part of the mission of both of our organizations, and really helping you as a brand kind of be less handcuffed to your kind of marketing platform, and really more focused on your customer data and how you can really maximize the use of that customer data to surprise and delight your end customer. So that's kind of the theme of today. And if I just to introduce you to MessageGears a little bit further, I recognize some of you all may not be as familiar with us as you are with Treasure Data. When we think about what we see with our clients today in terms of the things that drive them, the necessities that they have, really number one and a big part of why we're here today is the data access, really fast and complete access to all of the data that you have available to you thanks to ARM Treasure Data about your customers, and then really enabling you to do some really sophisticated and powerful messaging to those customers at sort of massive scale. And to do that, and this is something that we take quite a bit of pride in at MessageGears, with unbelievably powerful deliverability. So getting those messages, at the right time, on the right device, with the right the right message is what drives, really all of us. Now, if you think about sort of conceptually some of the challenges that exist today with a lot of the brands that we work with collectively, those brands are investing in rich customer data platforms, using platforms like ARM Treasure Data on the left-hand side of your screen, and yet they're being forced to basically lift and shift and copy that data from their centralized CDP platform to a third-party marketing cloud environment. And that process, especially when you're dealing with millions of customers, is very painful, very expensive, and fraught with error. So what we like to talk about is really some specificity, around some of the data friction that exists in that sort of legacy process. So you've got tens of millions of records. You've got hours and hours to synchronize those data between your CDP environment and your sort of more traditional marketing cloud. You're looking at lengthy implementation processes. You've got headcount dedicated to the process. It breaks a lot, and it's not really real time. Maybe it's nightly. In many cases, it's not even a daily kind of synchronization process. So a lot of data friction, a lot of pain, and from the MessageGears and Treasure Data perspective, why on earth would you do that? So what makes MessageGears unique as a messaging platform, also known as an ESP, is we take quite a bit of pride in our approach to really alleviating all that data friction by putting your data, your treasure data, if you will, at the center of our platform. And this is a quote that we like to use quite a bit from one of our clients. Once you put the MessageGears technology on top of your data, it really frees the marketer to really dream and do anything that they can think about. So think of that in terms of unbelievably sophisticated messaging, really kind of micro segments and one-to-one personalization. So all that data friction just gets completely removed, and it just opens up a lot of creativity for the marketer to kind of dream and do and execute very quickly, really in a matter of hours, from an idea to execution. So it's really liberating in terms of when you cross this paradigm that we're going to be talking to you and actually showing you shortly with Adam, my good colleague. You're in this world of no data mapping, no syncing, and no lag time, which is, frankly, transformational. So if you think about this more specifically, the paradigm shift that we're talking about, and this goes back to that data friction issue, when you're combining MessageGears as your ESP with Treasure Data as your CDP, the paradigm shift is you're completely removing all this data mapping and syncing. New data from Treasure Data appears almost immediately. Really, as soon as it's in Treasure Data, it's available to MessageGears for the purposes of sending a relevant communication. It really opens up your entire world from a personalization perspective, and Adam will show you some of that here shortly. The cross-channel journeys, the deployment becomes much less painful. So, when your Treasure Data CDP environment is up and running, MessageGears can connect to it literally in an afternoon and begin the IP warm-up process, which is pretty transformational. And frankly, we take a lot of pride in how easy and simple our pricing model is, and there's some benefits to that in terms of we don't actually store any of your customer data, MessageGears. We just consume it where it already lives in Treasure Data. So there's some significant benefits to that, not only in terms of agility, but also in terms of cost. So what you're going to see from us here shortly is what we refer to as our message capabilities, and that will dig into some of the efficiencies that I've described around process efficiencies, massive scale, hyper-personalization, cross-channel journeys, and orchestrations, and sort of massive throughput as needed for the supersenders that are out there. And with that, Adam, I'm going to hand it over to you, my friend, and you've got a solid 30 minutes to show us your stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you, Walter. So let's jump right in here and take a look at how MessageGears can help you tap into treasure data and really make the most of those segments that you built out. So what you see here, this is our MessageGears Platform Accelerator. I'm going to be walking through the message piece of our platform today. And this is our dashboard. So this is where you just see a glimpse of everything that's going on within the platform itself. And we're going to jump straight into looking at and talking through our audiences piece. Now, when we talk about audiences within MessageGears, what we're really doing is allowing you to tap into all of the segments that you build out within treasure data. We have that direct connect to your treasure data where it lives so that you can access that directly. And we have two main ways of doing that. You can utilize a drag and drop builder or a full SQL builder. So let's hop in here and take a look at how we can build those out. Now, when we come in here, your data connection is going to be defaulted. So you'll have everything accessible straight from treasure data so that you can start refining any of those segments that you might have already built out just a little bit further if you choose to, utilizing our targeting rules here. Now, as we build out targeting rules, what you'll see is that every attribute that you have within treasure data, you have access to within message here as well. So we have a few rules that are already in place. We're bringing in likelihood to purchase, days since open. We're doing some product categorization as well. In this example, we're looking at living and dining room recommendations. So we're bringing those in just to filter things down a little bit more. Now, as we do that, we have a couple of things that are going on here. Number one, if I expand on this list, you'll see I have lots of different attributes available. This is reading directly off of treasure data. So everything that you have there, you have access to utilize here as well. Another thing that you can do is as you're refining these, you can come up here, you can run counts. So this will actually go and collect your audience recipients, bring back a live count. And then if you need to do any additional refinement, we can come in here and make adjustments and rerun these counts again, bring those back in. Again, these are live counts coming directly from treasure data. So you have that right at your fingertips. Now, it's important to remember that everything that happens here on the targeting section, this all occurs behind your firewall. So none of this actually gets passed out into a cloud. Instead, you can utilize all of your PII data in here to further refine. Now, the next thing that we want to do is bring in any attributes that we actually want to pull into the message side to do personalization and rendering of that message. And that's what we're doing down here in this section. From here, we have the same list of attributes that we had above. The difference is we're only going to bring in those items that are actually going to get passed into the message. We have 4 of those that are already selected over here on the right side. And if I want to get a glimpse of what this looks like, I can come up and I can actually preview my live audience. So this gives me an actual view of that data that's going to get passed into my message that I can use for personalization and rendering. Again, I can come over here and let's say we don't need gender, but instead we're going to pull over, say, promo score. We're going to utilize that within the message, perhaps utilize that promo score to be able to do some more precise targeting. I can come up, re-preview this audience, and you'll see if I scroll over, now that promo score shows here. So you get a glimpse of that data as it's going to be coming into your message as you're going on. Now, we do have the option as well to just do a straight SQL. So it'll use the native syntax connecting directly to treasure data. You can drag that in here, copy and paste it in place, and then get that up and running immediately as well if you want to do any further refinement. Now, once you have that audience established, you have that connection directly to your data, the next thing you can do is start jumping into the content build piece. So let's take a look at how we can build out a template and utilize that direct data connection there. In our example today, we're going to be walking through an abandoned cart template. And when we come into our template, we're presented with our template overview. Over here on the left side, this is the email template that we're going to jump into momentarily. On the right side is a push template, and then we have a few other pieces of information over here on the right to get a better understanding of what's going on here. So we are actually connecting this to a live audience as well as to context data so we can pair that together for some personalization testing. We're going to see that happening live in just a moment. We can also see how many marketing campaigns this template is included in and what channels it's active on as well. We do also have built-in litmus testing, so you can run those pre-launch render tests here, as well as built-in spam testing. So again, you can run those pre-launch tests against the spam filters that are out there, get your pass-failed scores, just to get an understanding before you actually launch your campaigns. So let's jump into a template here and take a look at some of the capabilities that we have for personalization. Now in this example, we built this out utilizing our drag and drop editor. Everything that you see here, you can actually do through HTML as well. Simply by viewing your source, you have a full HTML editor available to you. But here from the drag and drop view, we see we've got a few pieces that are in place here. We have some images. We're bringing in personalization language here where we're actually going to show abandoned cart items to our recipients as we get into this. We're bringing in a few other pieces down here where we're bringing in a countdown timer and a QR code. But if I want to make any additions or changes here, I can simply bring over, let's say, my social links, drag those, drop them into place. I can change up my stylings all I want to. It's really simple and easy to be able to bring this in. And then I simply click on that trash can to remove any items. Now, we have a few other things that we can do from this view as well. We have something called display conditions, where what we can do is show and suppress blocks of content based off of how our recipients qualify to see that. So on this coupon here, we actually have this set up to be suppressed if we have deemed our recipient to be a high spender. We can even change this condition here. We have a list of them that are pre-built, whether they're a first-time buyer or perhaps we're running a promotion and they've achieved that. We can show and suppress blocks of content thanks to those. Now, to see those in action, understand what those really look like, I can come over into my quick view. And from here, I get a glimpse of my desktop view, so I can see this here, as well as my mobile view, so I can understand the responsiveness of my content. Back here on my desktop view, let's take a look at that display condition. So around this coupon code, if I drop down here, I can actually click on this and it will suppress the content if they are not qualified to see it. So you can build that directly into your templates so that you can actually have those blocks in there dynamically. Now, you do have a full range of other assets available to you. You can bring in dynamic content, so shared content for company headers, company footers, anything like that. It is truly dynamic. You can have a full library of that as well. Now, what we really want to show here is what the capabilities are for our personalization, and we're going to take advantage of our centralized area here for our abandoned cart pieces. And we're going to do that from our personalization preview. Now, coming into the personalization preview, what we're doing here is we're taking that template that we've built out, and we're actually going to render this against live recipients from our audience. So we are taking that audience connected to treasure data, we're bringing that in here, and we can actually render tests directly against that. That's what we do up here in our sample content. We're bringing in 4 recipients, and then we're also actually tapping into our context data. So context data allows you to create a secondary data connection to bring in other pieces that you might want to pair and display within your template. So we're going to see how those two function down here below. Now again, on the left side, this is the template that we just saw that's being rendered here. On the right side, I can click through these recipients, and we're going to see a couple of things change here. So clicking into our second recipient, scrolling down here, now in this central area, we see 2 things. Number 1, we see that our list of abandoned cart items has changed. We now have 2 of them, and they're different items. On top of that, we're also bringing in the locale of our customer so that we can show translated versions of the content that we're building to our recipients. Clicking through once more, I have another version of that here. And then a fourth one in French. Here we go. We see that we have a few more items. But we can go a little bit further on our testing side with this as well. Everything that we see here is local to this test only. What I mean by that is that if I scroll down here where I have this one item for our first customer, Jim Smith, I can make changes here without actually affecting the underlying data in treasure data. And what I mean is I can come over here, I can add in a few more items, I can click off of this, and now it's going to render and actually bring in more items. So all of the changes I'm making over here on the right side are for testing purposes. I can make those all dynamically, never actually affecting the underlying customer data. Now, as I'm doing these changes too, I can even take this, I could send this one to myself, to a distribution list of managers. I could send all of these out, get those into the inbox so that you could take a look at exactly what that looks like up close. Now, additionally, too, you can also preview your other messages here, too. So if you're utilizing push or anything else, you can come over, preview those as well to see exactly how those are going to render here, too. Now, we've seen how we can connect to those audiences, how we can bring those into our templates and do some live testing here. Let's take a look at how we can actually utilize our campaigns to get those out the door here. So coming into our campaigns, we're going to start with our orchestration view and work our way back from that. Now this is our orchestration view. This is our version of Visual Journeys. What we're going to do here is take our audience that we built and we're going to deliver a series of messages to the recipients based off how they qualify into every step along the way. Up here at the top, we have our welcome audience selected. And this first step here is our welcome email. If I select this, click on edit, you'll see that the only thing I have to do in order to put a step in place is to provide it a step name, choose my template, and then choose my sending channel. Now here, this is really important to where if you're tracking things like recipient preference, understanding exactly how your recipients want to receive and what channels, you can select those, or you can run it directly off of that preference so that they will be delivered whichever channel they prefer to receive. You can also, for any of those sends, actually just send it down all channels that you have. But you can select that here, and this is going to go one day after the recipient has signed up. Now moving into our next step, our update profile here. If I click on this, we'll see that we can actually bring in a few other pieces here. So this template, we're going to send this out to anyone who hasn't completed their profile yet, so we want them to go ahead and update that. This is where our launch variables come into play. So our launch variables give you a way to send in different variables so you don't have to hard code those directly into that audience data. And we're only going to pass in a false flag here. So what that means is that any recipients who haven't completed their profile are going to receive this send. Anyone who's already gone through that process, they're not going to receive this. Instead, they'll just continue on down the flow. Now moving on down the flow here too, we'll see we have decision points. So we could send them a push notification or an email based off of whether or not they have the mobile app installed. And you'll also see here that every step along the way, we have icons that will visually display exactly what sending channel these are going out. Now from this view here too, we're going to start getting a view of analytics. So if I click on View Analytics, you'll see, now this is not a live orchestration. We don't have numbers flowing in for this, but you'll start getting a glimpse of your deliveries, your opens, and your clicks for every send that's coming in through here. And you can do that over the lifetime of the orchestration or simply based off of the last run as well. Now, one other important thing to note here is that every single one of these steps is still a standard marketing campaign within MessageGears. And those are still accessible through the standard marketing UI. Now, clicking into this, what we'll see here is our traditional view of how you would get your bulk sends out the door. This is where you're going to take your audience, you're going to select your template, and then you're going to put those just on a schedule to get those out. Now from here, we can come in, change up our scheduling all we want to. We see we have lots of different options for scheduling. We can do ad hoc sends, one time. This one here is set for daily. You can even get into days per week. You could do those on specific days, and then even down into intraday sends. So you can have multiple frequencies throughout the day and intervals to get those out. We do have advanced scheduling options too. So if you want to pre-batch your audience, let's say you want to get that out the door exactly at 9 a.m., you could pre-batch your audience during, let's say, off-peak hours to be able to actually get your audience collected from treasure data, bring that data in, and get that prepped and ready to go. You can also set blackout dates, so that way you're not sending things out on, let's say, specific holidays or other days where you don't want to get those sends out the door. From here, we have lots of different features available as well. So you can come in, you can set up your suppression list, your seed list. You can also tap into your URL appends if you want to get those in place. And then we also have multivariate testing available too. So on the multivariate testing side, I apologize there. On the multivariate testing side, we can go into up to 32 different variations of either subject line or full template testing, where you can also auto-launch your winners as well. So you can get those scheduled to go out the door a number of hours after the test has run and selected its winner. Now, on top of that, we do also have transactional campaigns too. So on our transactional campaigns, the difference here, these are going to be the things that you want to get out the door immediately. So you're not putting these on the schedule. Instead, you're going to initiate these from a triggered action, perhaps a password reset or an order confirmation, something that might be triggered from an action on your website. Now, from these transactional sends, the only difference here is that instead of putting those on a schedule, we're going to provide you an API example of exactly how to trigger that. So you'll know exactly how to get those out the door. But you're still going to build your content the exact same way through the content builder. So that means you have all the personalization available to you as well. You can tap directly into that. You also have your personalization view here too, so you can see that before you get these set up and ready to go. Now, the other really cool thing about how our transactional sends work is that as soon as you are ready to get this and ready to get it out the door, you can come up here and promote your content. What that's going to do is send that out to the MessageGears cloud, make it available so that the next time that password reset needs to be invoked, it's there and ready. What that also means is that if you need to make any updates or changes to your content, you can come into your content section, make any updates to the template, and as soon as you're ready to promote that, you simply come back in here, hit the promote button again, and that will send that back out into our cloud, make it available and ready to you. Now, once those campaigns are scheduled and out the door, the next thing you'll do is start seeing a live view of the analytics coming in for the campaigns themselves. We're going to take a look at our jobs view. So this is our job analytics dashboard. What we're going to do here is for all of your live and in-flight campaigns, we're going to collect your deliveries, opens, clicks, those complaints and unsubscribes, your bounces, as well as any suppressions. And we're going to display those back here in this dashboard, live and in flight. So these numbers up here will aggregate. This dashboard updates every 30 seconds. So you don't have to come back in here and refresh it all the time. Now those numbers, as we're collecting those, we're also going to break those out and show the performance over time. That's what we see here in this first graph. As we scroll along here, you'll see those aggregate numbers at every data point along the way. You can also change up the metrics that you're viewing here as well to get a better understanding of what's going on. We're also going to break this out across your top 10 sending domains for your send. So down here at the bottom, we'll see all of those domains with the same metrics broken out across every single one. One I like to show here is our delivery side, where this would be a great view for you to be able to come in and understand how messages are actually being delivered at those domains as this is going on, where you can actually see perhaps there's some throttling going on at a particular domain, but rest assured we have a deliverability team that monitors all campaigns that are in flight, so they will know about it well before you'll even see any issues that are going on and be able to report that back. But this gives you another glimpse into how your campaigns are performing across those domains. And then down here at the bottom, this is our top device report. So we're going to take those opens and clicks. we're going to break those out across the top devices that your recipients are interacting with. And again, you can hover over and see all of those numbers here. Now, for each of these screens, we can also download these high-level metrics directly to our desktop if we choose to do so. But where the power of this really comes into play is with our real-time event feed. Our real-time event feed will provide back the recipient-level data for all of these metrics directly back to you for consumption back into Treasure Data. What that allows you to do is to take all of those metrics, put them back into Treasure Data, and then be able to create a full customer profile against all of your different sending and outreach channels, not just within MessageGears, but from your website, from your social media channels, from all other locations. We provide that data back to you so you can have it there. That allows you to really be able to understand the full breadth and depth of how you're connecting with your customer, but it also empowers you to create even more targeted segments that you can reuse over and over again throughout your campaign sends. Now, one step up from this as well, we do have a marketing campaign view. And from the marketing campaign view, what we'll see here is all of the job lists and job settings that we have for a campaign down here at the bottom. And then you'll see the performance over time again up at the top. And this one here, you can actually perform custom date ranges, so you can really filter it down to get a view of what's going on there. Again, you can change up any of the metrics that you want to and download this as a CSV. And then one step up from that is our account level view. This is going to show everything that's happening within the system. So you'll see all of the same metrics here. And then the other thing that you can do here across all of your different metric screens is that you can actually break these out into the different sending channels as well if you happen to be doing cross-channel sends. So you get a glimpse of all of that throughout. But again, all of that data that we provide back to you through our real-time event feed, you can consume that back into Treasure Data and use that to continuously refine and power your campaigns going forward. Walter, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Adam. That was fantastic. You packed a lot in there in a short amount of time. So now Sean and I are available to field some questions. And Sean, I think if you do the honors of facilitating those, that'd be great. And
yeah, thank you guys so much. That was really informative. Okay, so it looks like we've got some questions coming in. Let's see. The first one, this one looks like it's more appropriate for Walter, but why would a brand want to choose a set of standalone products compared to a marketing cloud if there's so much overlap between the two services?
Oh, I think this is a really good one. I'm thrilled this got asked. So yeah, I think this really comes down to a decision that the brand frankly needs to make for themselves. I think Sean and I together, MessageGears and Treasure Data, we've given you guys sort of a best of breed perspective today, and I think you've heard pretty clearly from the MessageGears side, we're big believers in just directly connecting to your customer data and alleviating a lot of that data friction in terms of copying that data from your internal Treasure Data environment to someone else's marketing cloud. We think that's a pretty painful process, and especially in the era of CCPA and GDPR and just general PII data sensitivity, why on earth would you do that? And that's really been the mission of MessageGears from day one. But in general, the brands we work with that come to us with more of this best of breed approach, they want to avoid, vendor lock-in. They want to avoid having their data being trapped really in someone else's marketing cloud, and they really are looking for kind of the best capabilities across a set of platforms versus kind of an aggregation of sort of average capabilities in kind of a monolithic, aggregated sort of quote-unquote marketing cloud. Obviously, we're a little bit biased, but from our perspective, with an all-in-one vendor, you're often not getting the best solution for functional areas that you need, and you're going to become pretty darn reliant on that single vendor. And frankly, they know it, and you become a bit of a captive client to them. So, you know, when a company offers many features but excels at kind of none of them, you're likely to be getting you're not getting really a best of breed at all. So, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I think all of us have heard that. So one other thing I would say on this one, Sean, is you know, what we see at MessageGears is that companies that have kind of a dedicated kind of marketing technology, leadership, and team, you know, they really tend to prefer best of breed when selecting marketing technologies. And I know the Treasure Data team kind of has a similar perspective. So that's kind of a long answer to the question, but I hope it helps the audience.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think what you commonly find is like people expect the marketing cloud components to be very well integrated, but in a lot of cases, like just because they're a component product, it doesn't mean that you're not copying data from point A to point B. So that's a good point. But let's see. We do have another question that came in. How does MessageGears compare to other email service providers?
Oh, yeah, okay. Also a great question. So I think you guys heard me talk about this sort of at a conceptual level. So, you know, another way to think about this is really the MessageGears platform itself, and what Adam just showed you. You know, we have to have something to connect to, like ARM Treasure Data, in order for our platform to function. And that's kind of a paradigm shift. So we need the brand's customer data platform. We rely on that for the purposes of sending, you know, the right message at the right time on the right device. You know, there's just enormous advantages to that approach, frankly, in terms of agility, kind of better personalization, you know, faster, and to some extent, you know, less expense in terms of the brand themselves having to deal with copying data from one place to another. And, you know, frankly, MessageGears, you know, our platform doesn't store any customer data in our cloud, which is really just one less thing a brand needs to worry about from a GDPR, CCPA, and sort of PII data security perspective. So a lot of benefits to kind of the MessageGears approach relative to kind of alternate ESPs. And hopefully you guys saw a little bit from Adam. We take a lot of pride in our content and editor capabilities, and really the power of the templating and the conditional logic that you can set up in that editor to enable you to do really sophisticated communication that's unbelievably personalized at massive scale. So yeah, we have some pride there, obviously, around that as well. So thank you, Sean, for that one. That was one I took some pleasure in answering.
Awesome. All right, let's see. Okay, so another question is, if we were to deploy both a Treasure Data CDP and a MessageGears ESP, which should we deploy first? You know, maybe I can take a stab at this one. So keep in mind with MessageGears, because they're so nimble, they're able to really connect to any data repository. So if your primary focus, like for example, if you don't have a lot of data sources and if your primary focus is the messaging aspect, then MessageGears can be deployed as a standalone product, and they excel in what they do. But if you are looking to deploy both already, and maybe you want your messages to reflect a complete understanding of your customers based on all possible channels, then in that case, it would make sense for Treasure Data to be deployed first, because you know we do the top of the funnel marketing aspects of combining that data together and making that deployable. And from there, we would push on over to a platform like MessageGears so that you can actually take action based on those insights. I don't know, Walter, if you want to add any additional color to that, but
no. The only thing I would add, Sean, is thank you for asking. Again, the power of MessageGears is because we kind of directly connect to the Treasure Data environment. We're able to deploy very quickly. So as soon as you got kind of a preliminary customer data model set up in Treasure Data, we're able to connect to that very quickly and enable you to start to create, your campaigns and your templates, extremely quickly, like kind of in an afternoon kind of a thing. Obviously, the IP warm-up process is always one that you want to be thoughtful and careful about. So that's going to take weeks, not days. But the rest of this can happen, very quickly once you've got your kind of phase one Treasure Data deployment up and running. So pretty powerful combination together, Sean.
Awesome. Yeah, we've actually got some more live questions here. Is MessageGears pulling data down from Treasure Data into a MessageGears proprietary data store, or is it directly querying the data stored in Treasure Data?
This is a great one as well. Kudos to whoever asked this. Frankly, there's a lot of options here. One is directly to Treasure Data through what's known as a Treasure Data data tank. So that can be directly to a Treasure Data managed environment, or some brands may prefer to have Treasure Data published to the brand's internal sort of proprietary analytics environment. That could be a Snowflake or a BigQuery or an Azure or a Redshift or even just Amazon S3. So there's a myriad of options. Certainly one of them is just the Treasure Data data tank is a common example.
Awesome. And this one's sort of related. Is for a Treasure Data MessageGears integration, where does the targeting, segmentation, and personalization logic live? In Treasure Data, MessageGears, or both? And does the answer change between channel-specific and cross-channel campaign strategies?
So this is a doozy and a good one. Sean, you want me to answer that first, and then if I miss anything, you want to augment, or Adam probably might want to jump in as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this question. Maybe you guys can go ahead.
Yeah,
for starters.
So
told me to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I think the preferred approach would be to use Treasure Data for all this segmentation logic, and then to consider MessageGears as one of the activation channels for email, push, and SMS. But obviously, most brands are activating via other channels, so things like Facebook, Google, what have you. So that's one way to think about it. Is really you're doing all your kind of heavy lifting from a segmentation perspective in Treasure Data itself, and kind of using MessageGears really as the content editor and the all that sort of channel execution capabilities that Adam showed you. With that being said, if for some reason you should want to further refine your Treasure Data segments in MessageGears, you certainly can do that. Again, based on your Treasure Data data model. So MessageGears is agnostic to your data model. So whatever data model you bring to the table from Treasure Data is what we use within the MessageGears platform, and we use that if you want to further refine your segments. And obviously we use the Treasure Data customer data for the actual personalization of the message itself. So there's really two things there, right? There's the segmentation and the personalization. And Adam, if you think I screwed that up or didn't get it quite right, or Sean, feel free to augment what I just said.
No, that was a good explanation. To expand a little bit more on the personalization side on that logic piece, just as Walter was mentioning, that most of the actual segmentation and utilizing those tools, you can really do that within Treasure Data. What we displayed in the demo itself was a way to just enhance that a little bit through some of our tools. But on the personalization side, the way to think of it is that any data that you have within Treasure Data, you can utilize for personalization. And then within the template itself is where you'll actually put the logic of how you want to incorporate those personalization pieces. So the logic side of that on the personalization side will actually live within your templates. So those would be within MessageGears or wherever those are coming from. And then the targeting and segmentation piece would really be driving and driven within the Treasure Data side.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So to address the question perhaps more specifically, like when you mentioned cross-channel campaign strategies and segmentation on that front, that's really where Treasure Data excels. We're kind of consolidating all these different data sources together and creating your segments and predictive scores. But those segments don't go anywhere. They're going to persist once they go into the MessageGears platform. And from there, you can further refine your segments. You can run your journey orchestrations using MessageGears as well. So the two products really go hand in hand in that regard. Okay, so I see one more question, and it does look like it's specific to Treasure Data, so I'll tackle this one. Is Google Marketing Platform, Search Analytics, Search Ads 360, Analytics, Display Video 360, etc., one of the integrations to Treasure Data? And how is the data being accessed or synced from MessageGears? Is it through APIs or near real-time sync? Okay, so regarding Google Marketing Platform, we have direct integrations to Search Ads 360 as well as Analytics. These are both GA, but regarding Display Video 360, this is currently in progress. We're developing this right now. The second part of the question, how is data being accessed or synced from MessageGears? Is it through APIs or near real-time sync? Maybe Adam, it seems to be more technical, so maybe you can tackle this one.
Sure. So on this side, MessageGears, our preferred way of connecting is through direct JDBC connections. So we can connect to any source through a JDBC driver. We do also have APIs available too, so you can have direct connections through that. So it really just comes down to what the best situation is for each in particular customer. So we have a number of ways to be able to do that, but those are the two main ways that our clients find the most success with.
Awesome. Okay, so to see if there's any other questions. Looks like that's pretty much it for today. So yeah, so that pretty much wraps it up for our questions and answer sessions for today's webinar, as well as that webinar overall. So just a reminder, if you missed a portion of today's talk or you want to share this content with your colleagues on demand, our webinar will be available afterwards using the same link you used to access this session today. In the meantime, we've got webinars weekly, so be sure to check our channel for any content. We'll be looking forward to seeing you during our next webinar. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.